Hello! Today I'll show you how to make an old rusty lamp using Blender and Substance Painter with a standard 3D modeling pipeline. When I have prepared the references, I can proceed to the first stage of creating any 3D model, the draft. A draft is like a sketch for 2D artists. It's needed to determine the proportions, shape, and create the basis for a future model. I consider the correct naming of objects to be one of the most important things in a pipeline. The more correctly you name them, the easier and faster the work will be. Blender has a quick rename function using the Ctrl plus F2 keyboard shortcut. Next, I start creating a high poly model based on the draft. Correct shading is important here and therefore a good mesh net. It's important not to lose the shape of the object but not to make the edges too sharp. I also made a low poly model from the draft. The fact that I didn't convert the curves into a mesh in the draft allows me to choose a lower resolution in the low poly and a higher resolution on the high poly. In a low poly model, it's also important to maintain the shape of the object and not make it too angular. It's important to consider how your prop will be used and from what distance it will be visible. Because of this, I constantly move the camera away and look at it. However, I need this model for my portfolio, so it's important to me that it's not too angular up close, but at the same time has a relatively modest grid. At this point, I decided it would be a good idea to halve the number of dots on the top thing. However, behind the scenes, I decided to cancel it because it looked too polygonal. The next step, after the low poly model is ready, is the creation of the UV map. I make my work easier by automatically selecting all the sharp edges by adjusting the angle and marking them as sharp and as seams. It's very important that there is a sharp edge where the seam is on the model, otherwise there will be unpleasant creases in the texture. The cylinders need to be cut along the top covers and along one of the edges. It's easier for me to make the main themes in Blender, unwrap them, and then transfer the model to Rhythm UV to create the final unwrapping. At first, I tried to straighten all the islands into rectangles as I do at work to save space, but then I remembered that this was a portfolio project, so it was important for me that the islands were not deformed. If you can't fit everything with the same texel, you can reduce the texel of some things that do not require high detailing or will not be usable. It's okay. Before the baking stage, it's important to make sure that the high poly meshes slightly beyond the low poly meshes, so that everything bakes smoothly and there's no blackness. I do this using the Solidify modifier with only rim option on. There are different approaches to how to bake a model. Some people are used to moving objects apart at different distances and then assembling them together. Others copying and pulling them apart, but for me one of the most convenient ways to bake a model is baking groups. Here I decided to do a very useless thing because the result will still not be visible on the final model. But at least you will see how to integrate holes into the flat mesh without shading artifacts. The most longest stage of model creation for me, texturing. In general, this is a pure art and experimentation along with experience. What about important things? I would advise you to learn anchor points and masks, as well as blending modes. At the beginner stages, in general, everything can be textured with ready-made smart materials. The main thing is not to forget to bake texture maps in texture set settings. Here I'm making a translucent material for a light bulb. To do this, you need to select the proper shader in the settings that supports transparency and turn the opacity map on in the project. I found a very cool paper smart material on the official Substance Painter website, where you can download it for free. And here I cut out how I spent an hour trying to recreate the material for stickers that I made yesterday in preparation for the video. In the end, I gave up and used the old one. It happens. I decided to redo the inscription, so that's easier to read from a distance. I'm starting the final stage of my work, setting the light and rendering. This could be done in a Blender, but I like it better in Marmoset. I would not say I'm a master in rendering and compositing, but I'm learning. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. I can make more detailed videos with a 3D modeling pipeline if you want. Thanks for watching!